What's going on, everybody? Coming at you from the bedroom, hopefully for the last time as I get ready to go on I-95 South and head down to Florida to kind of start over. I was hoping to get out of town yesterday. I just got more medical shit going on. It's tough when you don't have insurance. You get all kinds of medications. Looking back on the past year of my life, actually more like 18 months of my life, I have one regret. I regret taking a medication and not having access or support, I guess, to follow up on that medication. I started taking an antidepressant, and yeah, the mood was better. The personality was a little more open. I was talking to people out in public and things like that. But I just didn't care. And the deeper and the darker I got, the less I cared. And the more medicated I felt and the less motivated I felt. When I started doing the podcast, I realized how many cool opportunities and access to influential people that I had, and it was going to be about golf and playing golf and conversations that we have when we play golf. And, all the people that I have following this podcast and all the cool golf courses that they're members at, all the invites and, hey, John, when are you coming out? Hey, we should get together. Most of those people, if I called them on it, they would say, yes, let's go, let's play. Unfortunately, I couldn't get healthy, and the more stuck and frustrated I got, and the less I cared about taking care of myself. So I let my insurance lapse, and I canceled doctor's appointments, figuring I would be in Florida already. And then just kind of the wheels just kept spinning, and it didn't happen. I didn't leave, and one day led to the next, and there's another excuse and another reason, and then another bill catches up to you. So you pay that bill, and now you don't have money to get down to Florida. So it's been just a frustrating cycle. But the most frustrating part of all is I just don't really care. Even when I start to rant and rave on this, it's manufactured, it's funny, it's sarcastic, it's taking shots at people and hoping they shoot back, because I just need something to get me going. And then every time they did something dumb at Caddyshack 2, it sparked the juices a little bit, and people would reach out and the personal conversations would happen. But I never reached out to anybody. I never called in any favors. This was never a podcast. I was driving around today in my morning breakfast. I just kind of gather my thoughts. I usually drive around for about an hour. I listen to some music, eat breakfast, drink a Celsius, and then come home and smoke. And then just kind of get going for the day. And it seems like smoking is the only time that my brain's going and I feel anything. I've been medicated up on prednisone for almost a year now. Insurance denied my shot, and I was just like, you know what, I'm not fucking going through this again. So I just said screw it and just kind of started taking only prednisone, and I feel fine, but that prescription's up too, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. I just need to figure it out when I get down south. But the most frustrating part of all of this is, like I keep coming back to, is the lack of care. And then anytime you ask to speak to somebody, anytime you ask for help, their first question is, are you going to hurt yourself? No, I don't give a fuck enough to hurt myself. When I was thinking about hurting myself, I talked to people and I said, yo, let's go do this and let's get out of the house. And I did all these kind of things. And now that's not in play. I don't care. It's not going to happen. But I'm still stuck picking up the pieces from when I was going to, and I didn't have the support system because I didn't have medical insurance. or I didn't have a therapist, or I didn't have a psychiatrist to tell me, get off those meds. That's what's making you not care. I just didn't follow up. And that's my only regret. It's a cycle that I've been through for 25 years. When I first started in the golf industry, everything was seasonal employment and nobody had insurance. So I found ways. I figured it out. I found ways to hide my demons and keep my shit in check. When I took the job at Harmon, it was tough. My trips to Florida became fewer and further between. And when I did go to Florida, I would fly down rather than drive. So my yearly stops with friends in North Carolina to catch up and things like that kind of went to an end. And I found an outlet in a dog, right? I bought a dog and it was awesome. Our little outlets and our getaway days and our days on the golf course by ourselves. It was just fun, and then, kind of things evolved and we all go back to that one time in our life and things were good. I was on medication. I was doing what I needed to do. I had a doctor, I had insurance, and then COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, I just got frustrated. And I had no outlet and I felt trapped and I just fell deeper into depression. And I didn't deal with it. And then as soon as we got back to work, it was awesome. I was crazy. I was busy. I didn't stop. I was going so fast and so much going on. I never took the time to realize, I was medicating myself, but I wasn't taking care of myself. I never felt as good as when I was outside in the backyard with the dog, just kind of venting. And I don't realize that until now, because again, like I said, when all of it happened, the world literally fell out from under me. Basically within 2 weeks of starting a new medication. That's why she put me on the medication. But I never had a chance to follow up and realize that it just made me not care. And it sucks because this could have been such a fun podcast. I wanted the podcast to be golf and us talking golf and stuff. And then I could have had my private page where I could have done my rants and taken my shots and said the things that I wanted to say. I get it. People are distancing themselves from me. I don't care. I didn't care. I don't care. I still don't. I just, it is what it is, right? People took their shots at me without taking their shots at me, I'm not even going to get into the breakup and the lies that were told. And, I could still be living in that house if I got a lawyer. It just wasn't worth it to me. It wasn't worth the fight. It's not worth the argument. Okay. But the story was being told that I was such an asshole and I was ranting and raving. No, that couldn't have been further from the truth. It's crazy to think back at just how calm and careless I was in the whole situation. I wish I cared. I wish I would have got worked up. I should have got a lawyer, right? But I didn't care. So it just went on. And then when the dog died, I was numb. I cared that the dog had died, but I didn't care about life at that point. I didn't. Again, I had already stopped taking care of myself. I wasn't talking to the doctor. The swap of insurances from my job to my business was a nightmare as always. Medications denied, back and forth. And I just don't have time, patience, or I have time. I don't have patience or care to put in the time to sit on the phone for an hour to talk to some lady who keeps condescending and said, well, why did you wait so long? Because I'm struggling and I've asked you guys for help multiple times. It's a fucking revolving circle, right? But yeah, you look back on your life and literally that's the only regret I have out of all this is taking the fucking antidepressant, not having, and I kind of knew I didn't have access or follow-ups. And I knew there was no plan in place long term. So I should have known better. But it made me feel good, right? So just because something's making you feel good doesn't mean the medication is working. And I'm sitting here a year later saying, who is that person? I don't even recognize myself anymore. And it sucks. Because when I'm good and I'm on golf and I'm talking golf, people listen. I've seen it. I've seen the numbers. But what am I going to do? I'm going to drive down to Florida and not have health insurance, not have prednisone prescription, not have any of that shit, and not be able to play golf? So now I'm just driving around looking for a retail job, going to Florida because it's warmer to live in my car. That's basically what's going on. It's just, I can't stay here. I have no space. I just never got comfortable in this space. I did when I had the storage unit. I was able to fake it. Like I said, I tried to fake it as long as I could, hoping eventually I would get motivated. What this podcast feels like, and don't get me wrong, I've had my fun moments. I had some times where I started reaching out to people and we had a little bit of fun. It's been fun to watch Nate from Acorn Hills grow. It's been, I would have loved to follow up with Kobe and Tyler and see how the game evolved this summer. It just didn't happen, and my game didn't happen. I would have loved to play golf with those guys, right? It's crazy, the access to good golf that I have, and knowing the knowledge that I have could help a lot of people, and it just sucks because I just stopped caring. I just got beat down mentally and physically more than anything. Smoking to me, it's become, and I think I overdid it. I think I've gone too far. I need to pull back the reins. Again, like anything, too much of something is not good, right? But it got to the point where when I smoked, I could feel my body, but it wasn't pain. It was like quicksand and tingly. So I could kind of function a little bit. I had to find the right kind of strains that I could still function mentally. I'm starting to come out of the fog a little bit. My medication ran out about 10 days ago. I went through the sick part of kind of weaning off it. And yeah, I've been down and I've been depressed, but at least I've felt something again. So I'd rather be a ranting asshole than be a boring, medicated zombie that doesn't care about life. So, I just wanted to update you guys. I know this isn't golf related, but I told you guys this was going to be a Making the Band. I've never been on a mic before. I've never talked about myself before. I don't have people to reach out to that I'm comfortable with. I never have. And it's not a matter of, oh, you have no friends. Because I have people reaching out to me saying, hey, I'm here. If you need somebody to talk to, I got you, blah, blah, blah. It's just not me. It's not my personality. Usually when I try to reach out and when I try to talk, somebody kind of has their advice and their reasoning why I shouldn't have done X, Y, or Z, and it just pisses me off rather than helps. I did this to myself, and I chose to do this to myself. I started blogging with the no light at the end of the tunnel, right? I started the podcast with a positive light at the end of the tunnel. But I look back at what I've read and what I've said and some of the things I've done and some of the things I've gotten excited about and tried to manufacture care about. It's the days that I'm off the medication that I'm at my best. Yeah, I'm a fucking asshole and I'm sarcastic and I take my shots. But those are the days that I hit the end button. And some of those days I don't even post what I have to say. I just laugh and say, oh, that felt good. But then I'd start taking my medication again and you get right back into that fog and you don't realize it. But now I'm far enough out of it that I think I get it, and I think I'm ready to kind of get back. This would have been perfect if I could have made this work. I didn't need to be a millionaire. I didn't need to get rich. If I could have just found a few $100s a week to pay my bills until I figured it out. Because right now I can deal with me and I can deal with people at my own pace. That's been the kind of frustration about kind of getting ready to get a job. All the jobs that I found that kind of were on my own, that I went through the process, I just realized physically it was going to be a challenge, and it just wasn't worth killing myself. So yeah, this is just kind of an update on me. I know there's a lot going on in the golf world with the golf ball rollback and ROM and all these things, but there's a million of podcasts talking about that. There's a million news sources talking about that. I don't see a lot of good players getting together on a Saturday morning, playing a match at a great golf course and getting done talking about what they play, why they play it, what they're wearing, what's the hot gear. There's not a lot of that. It's a lot of goofy golf and a lot of cheerleader reporting, right? There's a lot of guys like me that are my age that kind of use golf as a event, right? How many times did I get home and it's so funny, you see the meme, and I don't want to sound like I'm stealing somebody's material. You see the meme. Who'd you play with today? A couple guys I met. What were their names? Mike, Dave, maybe. Yeah. Did you get the numbers? Are you going to play with them again? No. What do you mean? Like, we played golf. We didn't talk about life. We just kind of went around and did our thing. But it's the difference of kind of those social people and those grumpy Gusses, right? I guess maybe that's where I missed the mark with the podcast. I guess maybe the angry golfer was kind of the sarcastic, humorous side of this. And I actually wanted that to kind of be a segment, right? Me and the partner, me and the guest, you get into it about golf, and then, boom, you hit the fucking alert button because you hit a nerve, and now the angry golfer rants. And it would have been fun, and it would have been funny. God, you look back on shit and you just wonder why you didn't care and why you just kind of went through life, right? Start looking back at Almeida Golf. Driving around, setting up a demo day on a range was never the end game for Almeida Golf. The Almeida Golf plan was to find some land and kind of build a Harmon without the 9 holes and do it right. Don't nickel and dime every decision. And, that's what they started that place as. And then the economy changed, and I get they have their end game and their business model in mind, but I wanted something like that down here on the South Coast. That was always the plan. Almeida Golf was going to turn into blank, blank, blank golf center, not Almeida Golf. Somewhere down here, I drive every day. Part of my drive is, 18 up to Raynham and Middleborough, all that land on 44, right off 495 and 24. That's a 20-minute commute from, down the South Coast. That would be awesome. There's no driving range around here where you can go hit balls with golf conditions. Lazy A would be great if they had a fairway mower and they'd keep the grass a little tighter. They have that covered area that they could heat for the winter. If somebody had the money to do it, it'd be great, but you're in the same situation as Harmon where you're kind of off the beaten path. Just building something like that with just one building with 2 bays, and then the rest of the covered area, the mat areas have heaters with either top tracer or TrackMan technology. But most of the time in the summer, we're on a grass range that's fairway length. There is nowhere productive to go hit balls down here on the South Coast. None. And I think that's what Bob the Builder was trying to create up at not Caddyshack 2, at the par 3 place, but he just didn't go about it around the right way. Instead of concentrating on golf, he just made a monstrosity and tried to build granite links. He was designing it around the entertainment side, and it was too off the beaten path and kind of too in the middle of nowhere to get that. Who wants to go have 4 or 5 drinks and drive home from Lakeville, right? The golf learning center side of that was where he missed the mark. If you're going to ruin the neighborhood, at least make it productive. All that land on 140, 44, between 495 and 24, you get 2 or 3 good teachers and a couple good fitters and some good conditions, grass and ball wise, and the sky's the limit. But unfortunately, that didn't happen, and now it's just me kind of sitting here looking back on things, looking back on my life, and it just boils down to, I feel like the medication just turned me into somebody that I wasn't, somebody that I'm not, I don't want to be. Again, it drives me up a wall when golf people don't stick up for themselves. I'm a low spin, high launch, hit it in that air straight with no spin kind of guy. So the golf ball change doesn't really, or isn't going to really affect me. But what I don't think people are saying is the negative side of it, the mishits. Golf's not played in a vacuum indoors. It's why I don't like to fit indoors, because golf's not played in a vacuum indoors. People have elements outside, things they want to see. Oh shit, I hit that. I thought that was going to be off the planet, but that fitting kind of shrunk that miss. But I think that's what's not being talked about with the golf ball change, because everybody's trying to be too political, and the USGA and the R&A are being like me. They're telling it like it is. This is a done deal. The rule is in place. Figure it out. I bet golf ball companies already have balls that never reached their level of quality control that fall into the legal limits already. So I don't think the big cost is in R&D. I think their big cost is in sales. I think they know for the next 3 or 4 years, golf sales are going to sputter until we figure out what the alternative measures of the new golf ball are. I think if the golf balls companies were smart, they'd send some samples out to golfers so they'd start seeing what we need to look for and what we need to expect in our equipment going forward. Yeah. All right, guys. I guess a little bit of an emotional rant, but again, that's kind of where this podcast, I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be golfers that had emotion. I didn't want my boy that was the vice president of X company to come on as vice president of X company. I wanted him to come on as my boy that was a golfer with an opinion. And I just never reached out to anybody. And then when my health went south, I kind of got negative. And now people don't want to be associated with me because they think I'm negative, which I am, and I get it. But somebody has to be. You can't float through the industry of golf and just say, oh, everything's great. And okay, USGA, we will take it. Somebody has to say the negative side. And if I got to be that dude, I think I'm negative to a reasonable point, right? I'm negative to where wake the fuck up and let's look at tradition of golf. It's not, I'm negative, I hate you and I hate everybody. And I'm just negative to, I'm not happy-go-lucky. I'm not a puppy. I don't lick your face when I see you. I say, hey, what's up, bud? And keep walking. And if you ask me a question on a topic, I give you my direct answer. And that's what I will always be. And I think at first, for a while, this podcast, I was that happy-go-lucky, medicated, goofy golf zombie. So hopefully we'll get down south sooner rather than later. I got some putters up on eBay for sale. We'll get out of Dodge. I have plenty of stuff. I'm just not liquid, right? I can sell anything. I got clothes that I could sell that don't fit me anymore. That's the funny thing is I'm going through this shit, kind of obviously downsizing. If I crash on a couple couches here or there, I'm still going to be living basically out of my car until I get down there and get a storage unit and get kind of situated and get a job. But I go through half this shit, it doesn't fit. Like, a lot of this stuff was all part of sales. You come in the Bay, what are you rocking? Where'd you get that shirt? Oh, it's up in the shop. Yeah. Oh, you sell that? What are you playing? What head cover is that? Oh, that's a dope head cover from OS. Oh, that Circle T cover is fire, right? It was all part of it. Why did I wear Pro SLs every day to work? They weren't very comfortable, but I had the My Joys with the colors that matched. It's, where'd you get those? Yeah, you haven't made. It did sales, it increased sales. It was all about the job. And now I look at it and I'm going to do a whole lot of nothing. A whole lot of golf equipment doesn't really matter. So I think what you're going to see more of, and it may cost me listeners, I get it. I don't care. This kind of became my outlet. And if anybody wants to come talk golf, it's still going to be an outlet open to anybody. You want to disagree with some of the shit that I said? Like I said, all the nicknames, Bob the Builder, the car salesman, the drunken accountant, the groupie troopy, Bob the Rat, the Asian painter. Any of you guys want to come on and disagree with anything I've said? Come on. I just don't think they will, because they know I'm right. But it's just kind of become my vent session. I hope to get down to Florida and get healthy and get back to the range, because that's where I kind of got a ton of views and people listen and tune in. But I just don't know. I don't know what my health's going to do, and I can't make any promises. What I can promise is you're going to get my honest opinion and where I'm feeling. And if you keep asking the questions in the DMs, I'll keep answering. If that goes silent and that page goes silent, then maybe I'll look at it and call it a day, right? Again, it's stuff that I started letting outside influences bother me that never used to. I started this page, I started ramping it up. I went from 0 to 1,300 followers in about 2 months. And then somebody sarcastically told me I was giving away a driver wrong. So you guys have your way of doing things on social media. That's fine. I just shut down growing the page, and then nobody got a driver. So, again, it was me. I know it was me, but it was the position I was in. Every negative comment, every negative reason why I couldn't do something, it was the medicated version of my negative self. It sucked. And I'm kind of starting to come out of it a little bit and starting to feel like me a little bit again. But now we got to figure out, okay, how do I get back health insurance, doctor? First and foremost, I got to figure out probably the psych meds, right? Was I on too much of it, or is it just not right for me? But where I was now, I'd rather be an asshole than be a medicated zombie. So that's where we're at. Going forward, I'm hoping to make it south soon. It's getting to the point now with doctors and shit. Do I just wait until after the holidays and figure it out then? But every day, every month that goes by, it's just that many more days that I don't take a job, that I don't earn an income, that, it just sucks. You go from not caring about anything to, I still don't really care. I'm not negative. I'm not grumpy. I don't regret doing anything. But now I realize I have responsibilities and bills to pay, and I just got to figure out how to do that. A few $100s a week. Just kind of go through life until I figure out what's next. But if it feels like I repeat myself on this podcast, it's because I feel like I've been stuck in neutral for about 18 months. And that's about when I started on that medication. So I'm not a doctor. I don't know for sure if that's the case. Could be me making another excuse. But one thing I will say is, if somebody's going to suggest you take a medication, make sure you have the long-term plan to follow up on it in place. People think I'm an asshole. You have no idea the shit that I do to myself. I treat myself worse than anybody else. I don't take care of myself. I'm back to the peanut butter and jelly, ramen noodles, and fucking chicken soup diet. I don't reach out to doctors if I don't see progress in the first few appointments. I just say, fuck it, here we go again, and I cancel it. So, we're figuring it out. At least I'm finally feeling like myself again. I can't wait to get back on I-95. I just got to figure out a few things behind the scenes. Every time I have a health issue, obviously it turns into a finance issue. So we'll figure it out. Just another setback and a long line of setbacks, but I feel like the personality and who I am and who I feel like is becoming me again. So stay tuned. It's been a wild ride. It's only about to get more fun and more crazy. Let's go.